So lately there's been this theme emerging in some of my sessions, and it's always in relation to people expressing, challenges or discomfort or a lack of satisfaction with their intimate relationships. And the best way that I could summarise that theme would be that one or both parties in that relationship are playing a zero-sum game. What is a zero-sum game? Well, a zero-sum game is an activity, generally a competitive activity, where the outcome always cancels out to zero. So if I have a win, it's because you lost. If you win a point, I lose a point. If we're playing for a chocolate bar, somebody gets the chocolate bar at the end of the day and somebody doesn't, but we never produce 2 chocolate bars as a result of collaboration. So we're never building a net worth or a capital or a surplus. The outcome always cancels out to zero. And even in the case of a draw, we then halve the prize. We never actually create a surplus. So that's a zero-sum game. So how does this look like in the context of relationships? Well, it manifests in a few ways. Scorekeeping is a pretty predictable manifestation, and that takes a few forms, right? But I think household chores is a really obvious one. I'll do the dishes, but I won't dry them because you folded the washing but didn't put it away, right? So we've always got to stay even. It's really competitive. It's always about counting and point scoring. And so you're never really producing a surplus, right, as far as your domestic labour goes. You're always doing just enough to ensure you haven't done more than the other party. Another way this scorekeeping manifests is in socialising, particularly with couples who've got kids. So you went out last weekend, therefore I'm going out this weekend. Even if I don't want to go out, I'm still going to go out because you went last weekend. And if I've got like an event coming up in a few months that I really want to go to, before I even tell you about that event, I might even start suggesting that you go out with your friends spontaneously. And what I'm trying to do is ensure there's enough currency in the social bank that I can make a withdrawal. And again, we're going to end up with the grand sum of zero. And one of the more aggressive ways that zero-sum game mindsets manifest in relationships is just arguing, but arguing with the intention to win. So my desire here is to win, which means you got to lose. And if you end up winning the argument, then I'm losing. If I'm not going to stop ranting until you concede that I'm right, then you have to concede you're wrong as a result. And so whichever way we look at it, someone's right, someone's wrong, we've got a winner and a loser, and we end up with the grand sum of zero at the end of it. And then I think one of the more disappointing manifestations of this kind of mindset is in the withholding or withdrawing of intimacy. And I see this happen a lot with clients in therapy. And that is that, something happens and I might feel like hurt, I might feel disappointed, I might feel emotionally vulnerable. And because I'm hurt, now you have to be hurt. So when you approach me for intimacy, or when you expose yourself, when you display some kind of vulnerabilities, I'm going to throw it back in your face. So I'm hurt, now you're hurt, we're even, we're back to a zero sum. And that withdrawal of intimacy, I think, it's probably the most problematic form, I reckon. Because the other ones, you can almost turn into a game, but when someone withholds intimacy as punishment, that's a really difficult space to come back from. So the question would be, if that's what it looks like, where does it come from and why would someone behave that way? I think the best way to explain it is role modelling. Role modeling's powerful, man. It doesn't matter what you say to your kids, it's what you do. And if you were raised by parents who are always arguing, who are always in competition, particularly if separation's going on when you're young and observing that, you had 2 nights with him yesterday, so I wanted to come over to my place for 2 nights this week. It's so competitive. The whole thing is structured around point scoring. Also, if you felt that you had to compete for your parents' love, then that inherently frames intimacy through a competitive lens. And then I think there's always that, is affection and praise predictable in your house, or is it really unpredictable and really scarce? And if it's unpredictable and scarce, then you need to do 2 things, right? You need to not show vulnerability, because vulnerability and unpredictability are not good friends. And if it's scarce, you need to fight and compete to get your fair share. And if intimacy is scarce, well then that is ultimately going to manifest a zero-sum mindset. And so if that's what causes all this stuff, what do you do about it? If you find yourself or your partner engaging in these behaviours, like if anything that I'm saying is resonating as far as, yeah, that's actually a lot of my relational style. I think one of the really effective ways of managing this and trying to reduce these kind of presentations within your own relationship is to really lean into vulnerability. To be honest with yourself about your fears and about the anxieties you experience with intimacy. And then hopefully you get to the point where you can articulate them to your partner as well. And again, you're not looking for sympathy, you're looking for empathy. You're articulating your fears and your challenges and your concerns in the hope that your partner might understand a little bit more what it's like to be you and what it's like to be you in the context of an intimate relationship. And then graciously you will do the same for your partner. When they're expressing fear and frustration and anxieties, you'll lean into it, and rather than trying to fix it or rather than trying to tell them they're wrong, you'll ask them questions in the attempt to better understand their experience. So I think that's a really good way of trying to mitigate these kinds of behaviours. Radical empathy, always searching for a deeper understanding of your partner's experience. Not excusing it, not agreeing with it, just trying to understand it. If you can convey that message that you're actually trying to understand someone's experience, that's such a powerful thing to experience as another human being, that someone cares about you enough that they're trying to understand what life is like for you. And then one of the challenges I have in therapy when we're sort of, if I'm coaching people through these kind of behavioural patterns, as far as how to behave in a way that might reduce a zero-sum game mentality in their relationship, ultimately someone defaults to a zero-sum game. What, so I just have to lose all the time? And I'm just like, fucking hell. Are you not listening? It's not about winning or losing. You have to transcend the need to be right. You have to transcend the need to win. I think this is probably your most effective strategy. And that your goal should be something other than winning. My goal here is to try and understand my partner. My goal here is for this argument not to escalate. My goal here is to role model grace. There are so many other goals that you can search for as a positive outcome rather than winning. Winning's such a low resolution mindset when it comes to intimate relationships. And then the next question, which ultimately comes out, is, so I'm just going to do all this and they're just going to keep doing what they normally do. And I'm going to be a better person and more gracious and more caring and more empathic, and they're just going to keep being an asshole and they just get to win. So not only are you still stuck in a zero-sum mindset, but you're ignorant to the power of role modeling. Like fundamentally, if you're committed to this person for the rest of your days, do not underestimate the power of behaving in congruence with the way that you would like to be treated. If you want your partner to be caring and understanding, you've got to role model that. You've got to walk the talk. And I've never really seen it, I've seen people not commit to it, but when I've seen couples commit to it and that they view the relationship now as three parts. They've got themselves, they've got their partner, and they've got the relationship. And when your primary goal is to create net worth in that relationship, and when that desire to create a net worth in the relationship transcends the need to be right and the fear of being wrong and the desire to win at the expense of someone else losing, then you can transcend the pathological mindset of the zero-sum game in relationships. And what follows can be quite beautiful. So it's not about winning, it's about understanding and building net worth in your relationships.